Good afternoon. I am sort of worried about starting because Alyssa, my daughter, is supposed to MC this program with me. You've all seen her. She was just here. Have you seen her, Bill?
Is that part of it?
I don't know where she is. I don't know where she is, but you know what? I'm just going to start without her.
Sorry I'm late. I had to get the cake.
What cake? What
This
cake?
must be the biggest birthday party I've ever attended.
It's not as no, it's not.
Why are we all here? Oh, he's leaving like on a vacation?
No, not a vacation.
He's retiring? You're retiring? This is such sad news. Everyone's here to say goodbye.
Well, actually, all these wonderful people are here to celebrate Bill's 19 inspiring, amazing years of his leadership to our church and our community. That's why we're here.
Okay, so it may not be Bill's birthday, but we do have a wonderful reason for being here today, and it's our beloved Bill Crawford. Unless you want this, I'll put it back.
So, I'm guessing you're here because you're a fan of Bill Crawford? Woo-hoo! Oh, look at the fan. Woo-hoo!
I thought that was a lot.
We all share a bond in that somehow this very special man has touched our lives. We thought it might be fun to see how these connections have been made. So, raise your fan if you've seen Bill speak at a community event.
Raise your fan if you've ever heard Bill tell a joke.
Keep those fans raised if you thought the joke was funny.
Oh, we have a very polite, this side of the room is polite.
How many of you have had breakfast with Bill?
Oh, I'm looking at someone I know has had breakfast with Bill. Our next speaker, our first speaker, is Rabbi Jeffery Surfman, who has had breakfast with Bill many times. And many of you have seen him, perhaps, on LMC-TV's show Faith and Eggs, the Reverend and the Rabbi.
If you have seen the show, raise your fan.
Oh, that's pretty good, pretty good. Rabbi Surfman met Bill when Bill first arrived in Larchmont 19 years ago. And Rabbi Surfman says they connected as kindred spirits immediately. And really, anyone that knows these two wonderful men can see that they really are kindred spirits. After 9/11, they banded together to help heal our community. And since then, they continue to lead our community in many ways, on and off the camera. Rabbi Surfman.
What is the great secret to sharing a deeply rewarding friendship, a relationship that is so true it never fades with the passage of years? I would say to you, make the basis of that friendship breakfast at a diner, preferably with most of your time filmed on camera. Truth be told, when it comes to my friend Reverend Bill, what you see on camera is no different from off. He is true to the core. Among the most authentic, genuinely sincere people I have ever met. Being with Reverend Bill at the same table has been for me the greatest of gifts. As I'd imagine you who've been with him at this more transcendent table, LAC's sacred altar, will understand. For simply being in his spiritually effervescent presence cannot help but uplift you and bring out the best in you. Reverend Bill Crawford is that uniquely sacred spiritual leader whose connection is so compelling, whose spiritual depth so sincere, whose outreach is so real, it not alone stimulates the mind, but somehow speaks to the heart. Bill's care so unconditional for the congregants he serves, the kids he motivates, the extended village and town communities he shepherds, the leaders he inspires, for the friends in faith with whom he partners. Bill's care is so heartfelt, you couldn't hide if you tried. And it stems from the secret I have discovered eating together with him these past almost 18 years at the Faith and Eggs table, the core secret, which is the gift of this man's ministry and likewise the heart of his inspired faith. Rabbi Moshe Leib of Sasov tells the tale of how he learned the secret of love from two peasants in a tavern, though some sources say it was a diner. They were Ivan and Shaul, sitting alongside the Rabbi at the inn, drinking to their heart's delight, toasting everything they could think of. To health, to the children, to the sunshine. Suddenly, perhaps moved by the wine, Shaul raises his glass. To love! To which his old friend Ivan asks, "Tell me, my friend, do you love me?" "Of course," said Shaul, "of course I love you." "Then tell me, my friend, what brings me greatest pain? Tell me what's in this broken heart." To which Shaul replied, "How should I know?" And his friend continued, "If you really love me, then you'll know what's in my heart." Rabbi Moshe understood, as do we. The great gift of this man is that he sees inside our hearts. He feels our pain, the burdens we bear, the struggles we face. He senses our suffering as if it were his own. And so we know his friendship is true, his care complete. Reverend Bill's love is real, for it extends heart to broken heart. There are no words to thank him for his graciousness of spirit, his ever ready to belt out a Springsteen ballad life enthusiasm, his guiding light-filled presence in our lives. But the next time you are sitting at a table or face to face with another, someone dear or perhaps somebody you hardly know, extend yourself in compassion. Be there authentic in your care. Let Reverend Bill's love live in the heart you share. For then, he'll be sitting right alongside you. The secret at the table, still bringing out your sacred best. L'chaim, my friend. Love you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Surfman. We couldn't agree more. We think Bill is spiritually effervescent.
Bubbly.
Bubbly. Bubbly. Oh, we should have some bubbly.
Maybe after.
Okay. Now we have more questions for you fans. If you have sung a song or a hymn with Bill, raise your fans.
If you've heard Bill sing a rock song, raise your fans. If Bill rocked that rock song, keep your fans raised. Bill has a great singing voice for sure. Just ask his youngest fans and they'll tell you.
I believe his youngest fans are entering as we speak. Oh, many of you know that Bill is a frequent visitor of the preschool. The children there love him, and he has a special song that he sings with them, appropriately called Reverend Bill's Song. So, they are here to sing, and Bill, can we coax you to join them to sing the song? Yeah. Okay.
So, I hope we're going to be singing the same song. Does it begin with A? Yeah, okay. So I think, and I have to say that the person who taught me this song is here today. It's my niece, Josie, and it's the awesome song. And it's all about awesome. Okay, are you ready? So I think we can teach it to you all. Will you please say yes? Yes, you will? Yeah. And you can wave those hands too, okay? Because this is how we feel. This is certainly how I feel about these boys and girls in the preschool, who I get to see just about every day, and it's an awesome feeling. And the song goes like this, and at the end you have to remember to touch your toe. Can you all do that? Okay, try that. Going over there, I can see people touching their toes. I can see moms touching children's toes. Okay, here we go. A-W-E, S-O-M-E. Awesome, awesome, totally. Get it? Would you like to hear it one more time quickly?
Yes.
We could do it 20 more times too. But only once. Ready? One. Okay, here we go. A-W-E, S-O-M-E. Awesome, awesome, totally.
Thank you.
Why am I not surprised that you would mangle this microphone? Let's get together later and we'll mangle the microphone because it's my party. Here we go.
Okay.
It's not a song.
So raise your fans.
Oh, there's more?
Dear Reverend Bill, thank you for being so A-W-E-S-O-M-E. Awesome, awesome, totally.
You're going to keep it?
We can hold it back here.
You want to hold it back? Okay. These boys are not shy. And I think it's a testimony to a great sense of belonging and participation from people of all ages here. Because they can take over this program in a heartbeat.
So raise your fans if you agree that Bill is awesome, awesome, totally. You are. Among the fans here today are some of our elected and former elected officials. We would like to acknowledge you now.
We welcome Nancy Seligson, Town of Mamaroneck Supervisor, Valerie O'Keefe, former Town Supervisor, and from Town Council, Jane Eney and Jeff King, and former Town Councilman Ernie Odierna, Village of Larchmont Trustees Malcolm Froman and Bubba Finelli, and Tom Murphy, Village of Mamaroneck Mayor. Of course, I can't forget my mom, who's Village Justice in Larchmont.
Thank you, honey. Thank you for honoring Bill by being here today. Wait. I got an idea. Since you are here, so many of you elected officials, maybe you could convene an executive session, right now, and veto Bill's decision to retire. Veto.
I don't think that'll work, Mom.
Would it work? Would it work? It was a good try, right? It was a good try. Continuing with our celebration, our next speaker is Jill Berg. Jill met Bill in 1987 at the George Washington University, where she was a student. Freshman? You were a freshman? A freshman. And Bill was the Protestant chaplain. Their desire to serve the community brought them together.
After graduating from GW, Jill received her master's in guidance and counseling from New York University. She lives on Long Island with her husband, Doug, and her children, Amanda and Eric. Jill.
Thank you so much for having me. So to give a little backstory, I was a new student at GW and wanted to do some meaningful community service. I inquired about the many opportunities on campus and around the city and was directed to GW CAN, the Community Action Network. CAN did a lot of amazing work, highlighted by providing meals and services to the homeless at Miriam's Kitchen, a wonderful place that Bill co-founded. Bill and I clicked right away. We had a great time working together, and he asked me and a young man named Dean Lubnick to follow in David Goldstein, who I thought was going to be here today, his shoes as student leaders of CAN. On the surface, Dean and I could not be more different, but Bill knew that by having us do this together, we would unite different aspects of the GW community in the name of helping our homeless. At first, Dean and I couldn't imagine doing anything together, but sure enough, it was part of Bill's brilliance. We became quite friendly and brought diversity and community to GW by helping serve those who needed us. I had an incredible 4 years in our nation's capital for college, made so many memories and friends. One of the best times was spent in Miriam's Kitchen, greeting and serving guests and seeing Bill effortlessly make everyone feel welcome and at home. It was a very special place, and I was honored to be a part of it. We coordinated sororities and fraternities and participating into an amazing event that became a tradition called Miriam's All-Nighter. We played games and raised a lot of money to support the soup kitchen, all under Bill's caring and watchful eye. There were so many other activities through CAN, like Habitat for Humanity. Wherever there was need, Bill wanted us to help. I was honored to watch Bill and Julie get married. Years later, I got married and asked, this 25 years next month, and Doug and I asked Bill to speak at our wedding. We are Jewish, and my mother-in-law was skeptical, to say the least, about a reverend speaking at our wedding. Of course, no surprise to any of you, Bill was incredible. He took the Hebrew song Dayenu, which means it would have been enough, and related it to how Doug and I met and our path leading to our wedding day. So in that spirit, to know Bill as a friend and mentor during my college days, Dayenu. To learn and grow together, Dayenu. To share in his wedding to his beloved and amazing Julie, Dayenu. The birth and blessings of Graham and Mari, Dayenu. 37 years as an ordained minister, 19 of them at the Larchmont Avenue Church, Dayenu. To be a visionary and powerhouse for social justice, Dayenu. exercise enthusiast from the New York City Marathon to an avid biker, Diana. The Phillies, all things baseball, and Bruce Springsteen, Diana. On to this next chapter of this blessed life, Diana. We love you, Bill. Blessed to have you as a mentor and treasured friend for over 30 years.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, David, Brandon, and Trio.
It is a wonderful world, and I think Bill helps us all see it that way. You do. So, back to the fans. Have you worked with Bill on a community event? Oh, good.
Raise your fan, again, if Bill's enthusiasm encourages you to do even more to help others.
Raise your fan if you've ever spotted Bill in and around Larchmont, in the community, maybe riding his bike, maybe at the gym, and just seeing him makes your heart smile.
We're so grateful that Bill is a constant presence in our community. And here to highlight his contributions, some of his contributions, is Durandi Martinez, Executive Director of the Community Resource Center. Durandi met Bill 10 years ago when she joined the CRC, and the two of them worked side by side, tirelessly, helping others. Durandi.
I'm going to try to hold it together for everybody because this has been hard for me to accept, but I wish you the very best, Bill. As mentioned, I started working at the Community Resource Center 10 years ago. For those of you who don't know, the Community Resource Center, or Hispanic Resource Center, is a nonprofit organization that promotes and empowers and advocates for the immigrant community in Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and Westchester. So 10 years ago, I didn't always have, I wasn't in the leadership position, and of course I knew that Reverend Bill Crawford was on our board, but I didn't have this close connection with him as I've gotten over the last 2 years, and I'm so grateful to have worked with you in the last 2 years more closely on our advocacy committee and the Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Committee, and every time I see you, my heart smiles, but every time I hear you speak, it does something inside, and I'll never forget that feeling. Growing up, my mom always told me, siempre hay que ser agradecidos. And that means you always have to be grateful for everything. And I think that holds true in these moments where somebody so beloved in the community leaves. And sometimes that's for better things and the next chapter. And we all want to see what else you're going to do with your life. And I hope you stay in touch, or I'll find you. Bill, you've always been the voice of reason and righteousness on our board. I know that on behalf of all of our board members, we thank you so much for everything you've done for the CRC and the board members, and for always giving us your sound advice and empowering us to keep going. On behalf of our staff, you are a hilarious cheerleader, always speaking Spanish. It is just wonderful, and we'll never forget that. And you're a strong advocate. So on behalf of all of the people that we serve, we thank you. We'll never forget you, and we'll always be agradecidos for you. But before I end, I have one more question, Bill. ¿Se puede?
Sí.
Sí se puede.
Sí, sí. Muchísimo.
We missed the embrace.
I'm sorry. I walked away.
We never want to miss a hug from Bill. Not the best hugs. Thank you so much, Durandi. Many of the fans here today are part of the Larchmont Avenue Church as members or occasional visitors. So raise your fan if you've ever heard Bill preach a sermon.
We're not going to ask you if you stayed awake for this sermon. We're not going to ask that. No, because this audience is too honest. This side is. Raise your fan if you've ever seen Bill lovingly baptize a baby. Oh, you were the eyes, right?
Raise your fan if you've been moved by a prayer Bill has offered.
Bill has been, as you all know, the driving force of this congregation for 19 years, connecting, as Rabbi Surfman said, with us all in our trials and our tribulations. We love him so much here at the church. And to speak about his service to LAC is the co-clerk of our session, Clark Morehouse, and our associate pastor, Elizabeth Smith.
Clark and his wife Susan have been members of LAC since 1983, and Clark has been very active in our church since then, serving on various boards and teaching Sunday school. After a successful career as a media executive, Clark is now semi-retired, so it gives him plenty of time to keep Bill honest on all things Philly.
And Reverend Elizabeth has worked alongside Bill for the last 3 years, so we're hoping she's going to dish. She has added so much to the life of our church, and we are very grateful for her spiritual leadership. Elizabeth and Clark.
As Thea said, I officially wear 2 hats today, and I take the co-clerk job very seriously, but Philly matters, and so the second hat is coming right now. So for 19 years, Bill has maintained a great Philly vibe here in the congregation, even though the New York sports fans who are entitled and spoiled are always annoyed by the... but when we had our shot, we took it. And so I was looking at this picture of Bill in the program, and it's a wonderful picture, but it's missing something. So to memorialize 19 years of Philly greatness here at LAC, I have a gift for Bill. And I want him to wear it proudly in Chelsea, but only in the daytime. So this is an official Philadelphia Eagle Super Bowl hat from Super Bowl 52. You've got another year, brother. You just never know. And I'd like you to come here. I'd like to present you this hat. And then for those of you, and that's probably all of you, that know the words by heart to the Eagle victory song. And if you don't know the words, just flap your wings. Douglas. Fly, Eagles, fly to victory. Fly, Eagles, fly. Watch the eagles fly. Fly, Eagles, fly. What was that? E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagle! Yeah!
So a few months into my call here at Larchmont Avenue Church, the staff was gathered at the table in the Lindsley room for our weekly staff meeting. I was still getting a feel for the congregation, as I had only been here for a little bit of time. I was still getting a feel for the church staff and for my colleague Bill, who I knew a bit through our presbytery prior to my arrival here. That particular morning, there was some conversation back and forth before the meeting started. I don't recall exactly what it was, but I will always recall that it prompted this comment from Bill. I think our staff would make for a great sitcom. Everyone, I want you to think about who you would like to play your role. I've been thinking about this, so I'm gonna go first. For me, either Steve Carell or Denzel Washington. And then he added, he's got the cool factor. I remember this. The reality, though, is that Bill Crawford is inimitable. has one of the biggest hearts you will ever encounter, and his tireless love and support is not only reserved for the congregation and for the community, but for his colleagues and staff as well. When personal or family matters come up, Bill is right there to offer care and counsel and to make sure that you are taking the time and the space needed. He is genuinely interested in every staff member. He sees all of us at our best and encourages us to grow in our gifts. Bill has an incredible work ethic and dedication to his ministry. There's always a to-do list going, sometimes 3 or 4 at the same time, because he's always thinking about what is going on and what is coming up and dreaming about what could be. Bill knows everything about this place, and I'm not kidding, that's not an exaggeration. He knows everything. Bill's enthusiasm and joy are contagious, and his commitment to inclusivity is inspirational. Bill reminds us all what the church can be at its very best. Now, on more than a few occasions, Bill and I have had long meetings that span a variety of topics. I'm sure we're the only people that happens with, just me, just you and me. And sometimes, after these meetings are wrapping up, we don't know how to end the conversation, because the truth is that the conversation never really quite ends when it comes to ministry, and when it comes to faith, for that matter. So we end these conversations with a cheesy grin and an affirmation. You're a good person. It's one of those things that made sense the first time we did it, and then it just kind of stuck. How do you sum up 37 years of ministry, especially a ministry like Bill Crawford's? How do we end this conversation that in truth never quite ends? You're a good person, Bill Crawford. On behalf of all of us who have worked alongside you here at LAC, thank you for your commitment, your connection, and your care. You are a gift, and we cherish you. And you've got the cool factor.
So I thought it was tough to be a Philadelphia Phillies fan in New York, but I didn't hear any boos during the fight song, although no one knew the words either. No, I didn't. Some of them knew. So raise your fans if you like Bill a little bit more, or if you like Phillies fans a little more, knowing that Bill is a Philly fan.
Yeah, right?
Okay, more fans.
And we heard Reverend Elizabeth say that Bill's enthusiasm inspires us. It's contagious. It's so true. Raise your fan if you feel Bill's enthusiasm is contagious. Inspires us all. Oh, the fans are really waving. They're waving. Well, our next speaker, Reverend John Wimberly, agrees. He says that he has been inspired by Bill since they were young pastors together in Washington, D.C.
Reverend Wimberly has served the D.C. community as pastor, leader, and organizer. In 2006, he was inducted into the Washington, D.C. Hall of Fame. An author and church consultant, John and Bill have been friends and colleagues for 35 years.
And John shared with me earlier that he doesn't think it's bad to cry. So if anybody wants to cry, go ahead. Go ahead. I like
That includes me. So if any of you have gone any place with Bill Crawford, such as a restaurant or a ball game or a subway ride or whatever, you know that there is far more involved than getting to the destination. Because Bill is going to engage just about every single person he encounters. He'll ask the waiter about his or her family. The people sitting around at the ball game, who knows what he's going to ask them. The people on the subway, God doesn't even know what that's going to be about. my point, yesterday, Bill picks me up at the train station. We had to get some gas at the Speedway. So Bill goes inside to pay. I'm standing out by the car. It's starting to take a little time. I'm going, what's going on? I go in and Bill is having an animated conversation with the cashier. Meanwhile, there are 6 people now in line behind Bill. And it's hard to tell whether they wanted to laugh or scream. And so I walk around and go, Bill, there are like 6 people behind you. And he goes, oh, and he turns around and starts talking to them. At which point I go, oh my God, this is absolutely hopeless. So, frankly, I've never figured out whether I should be embarrassed by his interactions with all these strangers or whether I should love it. And it's actually a little of both. I start out being embarrassed. And I end up loving it. And I love it because Bill loves people. Actually, he adores people. And he doesn't care if they're rich or if they're homeless or somewhere in between, if it's a Speedway cashier or a rich business executive, if they can speak English or not. He engages people he meets in life, seeking to get to know them. He listens to them. He learns from them. And he cares about them personally. And he communicates them. Now, the Gospels are books, but we rarely read the Gospel as books. We take a little passage here and a little passage there. But when we do read a Gospel from beginning to end, which is something I like to do, we get a much fuller picture of who Jesus actually was. Bottom line, he engaged everybody that he met as he walked on the road of life. You take Mark's Gospel. It begins with Jesus walking down the road. He sees 2 guys who are fishing. Most of us would just keep moving. But like Bill, Jesus stopped and started a conversation with them. Jesus had to go someplace that day. Mark doesn't tell us, and we don't really know if he ever got there because he stopped and he talked to these fishermen. Jesus then saw a group of Jewish folks who were studying the Torah, and he stopped and he joined the conversation. From that point, he went over to Simon's mother-in-law's house. She was sick, and he spoke with her and engaged her. In the morning, he sought out a quiet place where he could do some prayer, but he sees a leper, and of course, he engages the leper. Continuing the journey, he met a tax collector named Levi. Tax collectors were despised as collaborators with the Roman oppression. They were to be avoided. But to Jesus, Levi was another interesting man who probably had an interesting story. And so a conversation ensued. In the next few chapters, Jesus engages a Gentile woman, an epileptic child, a blind man named Bartimaeus, an unnamed rich man, 2 women in Bethany named Martha and Mary, and the list goes on. His disciples, by the way, were very embarrassed by the way he kept stopping and talking to all these people, especially to the ones who were disrespected and not valued in that society. As I see it, the crowds that gathered around Jesus as he walked his walk in life were not because he was an eloquent preacher, were not because he was an astonishing healer. They gathered because Jesus demonstrated that he cared about them, physically, emotionally, spiritually, personally. So people have gathered around Bill Crawford for exactly the same reasons. His ministry here at Larchmont, and where it started back in GW, his ministry will not be remembered for his eloquent sermons, even though they were numerous. His ministry will not be remembered for his work on church and community organizations, even though he provided them, as you testified, with transformational leadership. or his ability to keep Larchmont's ministry vital at a time when most mainline congregations are suffering precipitous declines in vitality. Now, Bill's ministry will be remembered because Bill Crawford found people interesting, because he cared for them. He cared about you, everybody here today. He cared about me. Wherever Bill's destination was, whatever he was trying to get to, it was never as important as you and me and all the other people he met along the way. All the conversations that Bill has had over the last 19 years here in the Larchmont community are the reason his ministry has been successful in this room, is standing room only today. And he invited this particular congregation into those conversations in a way that made this church more relevant than it's ever been in its long and glorious history. Because he cared and engaged people. People in the community, these people with whom he was engaging, saw LAC as caring. It was a magical process to behold from a distance. Bill, your work is done here, but you're not done working. And God is not done working through you, brother. I'm confident, I'm absolutely confident that your best years are actually ahead of you. You're now an unrestricted free agent. Because wherever you go, you're going to stop and you're going to talk to people. And they're going to continue to tell you their hopes and their fears, their love, their joys, their sorrows. And in those hopes and fears, you'll find your next mission and your next ministry. So on this very special day, I give thanks to God for all the embarrassment this man has caused me over 30-some years, humiliating as it was at times. Because by his example, Bill has reminded me, and he reminds you and so many others, about the importance of stopping on the road of life and talking with people and caring about people. In the months and the years ahead, via con Dios, and thanks be to God for the ministry of Bill Crawford. And let the people say to that, amen. Amen.
Hello, my name is John Luke. I'm a pianist and I'll be playing some music for you in a second. It's great to see some familiar faces here. Many of you I haven't met before. I and my parents were members of the First Presbyterian Church of Freeport, which Reverend Bill served before he came here to Larchmont. I was baptized there when I was about yay high by Reverend Bill and my grandfather. It was a wonderful moment. And I wanted to share with you a quick story. I started playing piano when I was 5, while we were members of the church. And Reverend Bill caught wind, as Reverend Bill is wont to do, that I had started piano lessons. And being Reverend Bill, he had an idea. Came up to us and he said, wow, John Luke, this is so wonderful. How can we involve you and the church family with this wonderful gift? And my 5-year-old self was like, what? But of course, Reverend Bill found an opportunity. He made an opportunity. There was a song that we used to sing, often in the not for children only time. I see you've added some songs to your repertoire here. We didn't have the Total A song. Yeah, you can teach me afterward. But we had a song which maybe many of you are familiar with. The tune was that of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but the words started, God made the earth and God made the sky. And maybe many of you know it, it's sort of a description of creation and the goodness of creation and the goodness of each person. And Reverend Bill heard that one of the songs, like the first song I was learning was Twinkle, Twinkle, and he said, oh, how about you can play this and we'll sing along. And so I did. At 5 years old, Reverend Bill invited this 5-year-old kid to come up and play, and the whole congregation sang along. And it was, for a 5-year-old who's just starting out lessons, what a transformative experience. But of course, that's Reverend Bill, is to find the gift of each person, or the many gifts of each of us, and find how we can support them and nurture them, as we've heard from everyone who's spoken. I will always be grateful in that and in so many areas. The piece that I'm going to play today has a few more notes than Twinkle, Twinkle, but it is also a celebration of what is good. It's a piece written by Robert Schumann. It's part of a 3-movement work called The Fantasy. Schumann wrote it, when he was writing it, he was initially considering calling this second movement Victory Arch. He later decided to get rid of all the titles for all the movements and just let the music speak on its own. But it gives us some clue about what he was thinking. It's a very celebratory, joyful movement. And he wrote it, we think, with Clara Schumann in mind, the woman who would become his wife. But at this point, wasn't yet his wife, and her family was still sort of opposed to them being together. But Schumann had known her for some years at this point, and he's deeply in love with her. And I thought it would be a fitting piece to share with you today, because Schumann, as we are doing today, Schumann is looking back and he's also looking forward. He's looking at the person who he's met and who has transformed his life and who has uplifted him, much as we are celebrating this man who has done that for all of us. Schumann's also looking forward because he's not yet with Clara, that comes later, but he's looking ahead to that future with joy and celebration. And we are both looking forward to what Reverend Bill will be up to next, because we know he'll be up to something. And also in a broad sense, as persons of faith, we are always, in some sense, I think, looking ahead. We've heard about some of Reverend Bill's work in the world and addressing justice, social justice issues, and his reaching out to individual people and meeting people at our broken points. Whenever we meet the world, we see that though it is good, it is also not final or perfect. And as people of faith, in some sense, we're always looking forward to that more full communion or banquet or diner table, at which we hope that we may all someday share. One of the blessings of faith community, and one that we have really felt in the faith communities that we've got to be a part of, that Reverend Bill has nurtured, is that they give us a glimpse of that further communion. So if you'll join with me and Robert Schumann in celebrating what has been and what shall be. This is the second movement of Schumann's Fantasy.
words and music. We love looking back on Bill's time at LAC, but looking forward still a little sad for us. But now we're pleased to introduce as a Village of Larchmont trustee, Malcolm Froman.
He has a surprise for you, Bill. If you want to come forward, Malcolm, and Bill, if you will come to the podium.
I'd use that, sure. Standing room only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not violating any regulations with capacity. But we have mayors here. We can take care of this. And we have the village justice, Thea Bieber, ladies and gentlemen.
So we're covered.
We're
covered. I'm here on behalf of Mayor Lorraine Walsh, who unfortunately couldn't be here because of an important family commitment. I was planning to be here anyway, but when Lorraine approached me about making this presentation on behalf of Bill, I said I'd be honored to do it. I know Bill through our work at the Larchmont Mamaroneck Local Summit and the Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Committee. And as a 25-year resident of Larchmont, there's a lot that I cherish and love about our community. But nothing more important than the contributions and the energy and the spirit that the people of this community bring to our village. And no one embodies that more than Bill Crawford. So it's my pleasure to read to you the following proclamation. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and the residents of the Village of Larchmont, I would like to appreciate our sincere appreciation and to proclaim June 3rd, 2018 as Reverend Bill Crawford Day. And it goes on, in grateful recognition of his lifetime devotion to his profession and his outstanding dedication to this community. Best wishes and good fortune in the future. And it's signed, Mayor Lorraine Walsh.
So I have, these are some notes which are really just notes. I mean, there's preparation on my heart. My heart is full. I would like to clarify and ascertain just what it means to have this be Bill Crawford Day. Please submit all your parking tickets or any other violations. Just see me. I think that's what this means. I think there's free coffee and goodness. What else can we do on Bill Crawford Day? I don't know. I feel better already. We got how many hours left on Bill Crawford Day? So let's try to make this happen in great ways, and I know we can, and we certainly are and have been in some wonderful ways. I am ever so thankful for the people of this beloved church. It's just a wonderful congregation of folks of ages and stages across some really wonderful spectrums of people and backgrounds and life, and from younger little ones to older ones. My heart is very full, and I know great thanks to those who put so much into in this very special event. The awesome legal team, mother and daughter, we know them, we love them. Could we live without them? Thea and Alyssa Bieber Gomez for Alyssa. And I'm saying that because on June 4th it won't be Bill Crawford Day. And if I happen to stand before Thea Bieber, I won't be able to plead that case, will I? But then too, I'm really quite happy and excited to tell you that there is a party that continues following this in Russell Hall. And some great care and attention and special features have come together in so many wonderful ways, thanks to some wonderful people, and many, many more who I can't begin to name in totality, but Ernest Wong and Kate Keyes and John Farris and Ted Utz. Ernest is no stranger to such efforts. He and I have known each other for just about 40 years, and there have been some wonderful planning of events way back in early days for me when I was on staff at Riverside Church at the New York City Council of Churches. And so Ernest was there then, and Ernest is here now. I thank God for that friendship, and again, his hand and heart involved in so much that's been going on here today, and to this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful group of folks. And then, June Luke, you really have come a long way since 5 years ago. I mean, when you said there are a couple more notes, oh my gosh. So I had this nifty idea way back when June Luke was as little as William D. Felice and some others who were here singing Awesome with me. And it's just scary wonderful to think about what they'll be doing when they're your age. So the tune was, God made the earth and God made the sky. God made the fish. We had fish features to that. And the birds that fly. Animals, flowers, trees so tall. God made everything, great and small. God made all that I can see. God made you, and God made me. And it was to the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And I had this nifty idea that, June Luke, do you think you could play that on the piano? And he did at age 5. And the gifts just grow, and we bear witness to them. And I'm so thankful for that and for you. And so many. And I really am mindful of the words in that embarrassment and admonition and praise for my friend, my dear, dear friend, John Wimberly, because, I mean, see what I did just then? I could go off for hours on individuals here. And I don't want to do that because there's more time. It's amazing to think we're only halfway through the program. Only kidding, only kidding. But it reminds me of something that happened years ago, soon after I arrived. It was just about at the moment on the aftermath of 9/11, and I had met and had breakfast more than a few times with my dear friend Rabbi Jeff Surfman, and one thing led to another, and after 9/11 there was 9/12, and we gathered at the temple with an overflow crowd and gathering, and steps ensued beyond that with Faith and Eggs, and then some wonderful, important efforts in the life of this community. Project Find, Friends Indeed, with a band of brothers, Bob Meglio and Rich Side and Noel Dennis. You guys are here, I trust, and Lorraine Danza and Jesse Birnbaum, and we were sparked by a wonderful public official, Valerie O'Keefe. Valerie, I hope you're here. And what happened in the aftermath of that in a few days, it was actually the weekend following 9/11, which is a Tuesday, and if I have that right, and then that Saturday, Sunday, this beloved church downstairs became a field site for the American Red Cross, and we had blood donations, and there was an overflow crowd down there then. And I was, in certain moments there on that Saturday, lying on a cot on the floor of the Carhart room. Mind you, the Carhart room is so named for the very first pastor here. And it leads me to think what will happen with anything with the name of Crawford. But that's another story. That's another story. That's another story. But there I was on that cot, and I had one of those IV tubes in my arm, and the red blood was pumping up through and doing what I needed to do. And the nurse urged me to be quiet, which was difficult, I tell you, because nearby I was listening to some people who I didn't know or recognize, mindful of the fact I was new, but still I hadn't seen them around the church, and And so one of these guys was talking to somebody else, and he said, "What kind of church is this?" And I said, "I think it's Protestant, Presbyterian." And somebody had known the previous pastor, Reverend Dick Martin, God bless him, and they said, "Well, he left a bit ago. Who's the new pastor?" And so, mind you, I'm lying there with blood pumping out of my arm, and these guys are getting into this conversation about who the new pastor is. And it's all I can do to be quiet, because here I am, the new pastor, not so new. And so I'm listening closely, and the nurse, I kind of proceed to kind of lean up and hope to respond to these gentlemen because they could be welcome to church, and why not? She urged me to lie down and be quiet, and so I continue to listen. "Well, I don't know who this new guy is," said the one to the other, "but I hear he's okay." And I realized in those moments that there was so much more that I could do and say about the church. And it kind of left me feeling, as I have until this moment, namely, there's so much to do and say about this church, and now I have an opportunity just to do something of that in a few short moments. I mentioned this little housekeeping thing that there will be this wonderful celebration and party immediately following. It's in the Russell Hall, which you go through the entranceway of John Ferris. God bless John. What a wonderful all-star usher. John, raise your hand over here. Okay? It's right that way across to Russell Hall. But if everybody goes through there, it'll be a little bit awesome and daunting. So if half of you, like from the middle section back, can go out the back door and then through the entranceway on Forest Park Avenue, that'll get you there a little more expeditiously. And the ushers, Ernest and John and Chris and Eamon can help you to get there, where there will be some wonderful refreshments and fellowship and some music and some other talents, to be sure, among the awesome folks in this beloved church and community. A wonderful church indeed. Garrison Keeler said something that has always stuck with me. He said, it saddens me to think that I will miss my funeral by 3 days. And that's just one reason why I'm very, very glad to have this time with you all. I get to be here. I said that and shared that with my sister Mary and several friends, and it was kind of jarring to hear that. To hear me say, I'd rather have you be here than my funeral. But not that I wouldn't want you at my funeral, but I wouldn't be able to say as much to you at that time. And so I am very, very grateful for your presence. There are so many things to say, so many memories to cite, so many things to say thank you for. But let it be that. Thank you, thanks, and ever thanks. First of all, in terms of thanks, I'm so ever grateful for my beloved wife, partner, Reverend Dr. Julie Faye Parker. Okay. Go ahead. So we could do a little bit of one of those fan things. How many have ever heard one of Julie Parker's sermons? How many have ever heard Julie Parker in a class, community continuing education? Hebrew teaching and lecture all around town, including the temple, okay? How many ever heard her lecturing to you across a kitchen table or maybe like that? I stand to that with great thanks. I am ever so grateful for the beloved family I have this privilege and joy and delight to be a part of, with a beloved son, Graham, whose sensitivity and smarts and creativity is just abounding. And his ever talented, sweet, sensitive, smart, savvy, gracious, good sister Maury. God bless this I'm a brother with 3 younger sisters, Christine, Mary, and Barbara, whom I thank God for, and I'm so proud and happy and delighted to share these moments with you, way and long before any funeral, to be sure. And the partners in their life, Mike and Daniel, and then the fabulous Parker sisters. Yes, you've gotten to know Julie in so many ways, but Sister Kate and Sister Valerie are just dynamic, gifted, and gracious in so many ways. Kate's partner, Don, and then among this family constellation, there is this wonderful array of 6 awesome nieces and nephews, Adam and Aaron, Jake and Eli, Max and Josie. Josie, who brought me the AWESOME song, okay? But now she's advanced into theater and song and talents in amazing ways. Props to you, Josie, to be sure. Yes. And then my cousin John is here with his beloved wife Joanne. A little story. How are we doing on time? I'll make this quick. So I was ordained about 37 years ago. The very first wedding I ever did was John and Joanne in Vancouver, Canada, Vancouver, BC. And they are here today, alive and loving and strong, for which I give great, great thanks, to be sure. I mentioned some friends, and this is a little risky because there's a whole constellation of friends, including the friends I made yesterday at the Speedway gas station. And John wasn't there, but I invited them to this gathering. I have to check. Marika from Speedway, are you here? Okay, I think she took me seriously, I'm pretty sure. But nonetheless, friends for life. Dear John Wimberly, Ernest Wong, you guys have been there, and you can vie along with Steve Mickey as to who has known me the longest, and that's the fight I'm glad to step back and watch happen. But nonetheless, your love and affection and my esteem, respect, and regard for you, and counting on you, brothers, for care and support and response, as it's been mutual over so many ways and so many moments, and great thanks to God for that. And then I'm talking friends here, and there have been in my life rabbis who are dear and to the heart. Rabbi Jerry Serrata, as Jill and some of the GW folks know, he and I were chaplains. He the Jewish chaplain, me the Protestant chaplain at George Washington University way back in the day. And Jerry was on his way on a flight from National Airport that had to turn around on its way to Westchester Airport. So he sends deep regrets and love, and he can't be with us. He and Rabbi Jeff have a connection overlapping at the Hebrew Union Rabbinical School, where Rabbi Jeff is an adjunct faculty, and Jerry's brother, Rabbi Ike, was a student. Are you following this? I try to connect as many rabbis as I can. And I feel so very blessed by that. I don't think, quite frankly, there's anybody I've had breakfast with more consistently over a 17-year period than this beloved rabbi. And we say some stuff. I mean, it's really rich and good. And by the way, you can watch us, you can binge watch on LMC-TV. Shout out to LMC-TV. Those of you watching at home, as soon as this is over, click onto the website, watch the Reverend and the Rabbi. I am very grateful for along the way, there have been 4 stops or places, calls in ministry. The Riverside Church, where I was first upon leaving seminary, and that coincided with some work as the coordinator for social action at the New York City Council of Churches. Following that, there was indeed my time, precious as it was, in Washington, D.C., at the Western Presbyterian Church. I was kind of like the John the Baptist to and in advance of Reverend John Wimberly, who continued there for 30 years, as well as, yes, chaplain at GW. And that was a location where, as Jill and others mentioned, Miriam's Kitchen was founded and is going strong since 1983. It's been recognized by the Washington Post as the best nonprofit in Washington, D.C. And so get a hold of that. The church in Freeport, there are several folks here from Freeport today, including June Luke Foster. I think the Cooks and some others are here. Wave a hand, show one of those Bill faces, if you will. Coming at your way. God bless and welcome. So there has been Freeport, and then along the way after Freeport, there's been the Larchmont Avenue Church. The staff and the people here are incredible and so very special. The associate pastors, you've met one of them already. Reverend Elizabeth Smith Bartlett is gifted and talented. She's a good person, too. But I am pleased and honored to recognize, and it touches my heart, to have Reverend Julie Emery, who's served as associate pastor. Say that, Joe. And then alongside, but not that way in terms of the pew setup here, is Reverend Andy Court, who's come all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana, serving there at the First Presbyterian Church in Bloomington. Go Hoosiers. Andy, please. I think there's some terrific photo ops, because if Andy takes off his glasses, he looks like Prince Harry. And many people already have said, it's so nice that we have John Bolton in the program. and Reverend John Wiberlin. And then when it comes to the staff here at this church, again, noting the people, but indeed, this is a gifted and wonderful staff. I mean, you've tasted and heard some of the music already, but our Director of Music Ministry, Maestro Douglas Coster, is over yonder. I can't see you. There you go. Douglas's line to me with some frequency is, "It's a pressure to work with you." Douglas always leaves you thinking. But then also, Melody Murray holds down, and more so, our church office. Melody, are you here? There she is. Melody over yonder. One of among the talents in this beloved church are matters of finance and the like, for which there's an awesome committee. I think in terms of a House of Worship Finance Committee, we have one of the best in all of Christendom, and that would include the Vatican. Just saying. But one of the things that's based in a hub is our bookkeeper, a member of staff. We're not sure who plays who in terms of the sitcom that we're soon to sign rights for. But Marjorie B. has been our bookkeeper and is just a tremendous talent, an impassioned athlete, a gracious mother, a wonderful colleague. We share just about the same birthday, and she too is stepping aside from LAC. We give great thanks for you, Marjorie. So this is just a little bit more, but I didn't want to miss, education has been terribly important, and on staff right now, really filling the gap and more is Crystal Chambers. And Crystal, I hope, is here somewhere, but a shout out and thanks to her over yonder. And Eleanor McNamara, who's been just a precious member of the church and helpful in a secretarial way, having come back to do so just recently, even tomorrow. Eleanor McNamara, great thanks for you, along with the custodian who's been here since before I came and has helped in so many ways, big, little, small, and everyday and special events, is Franklin Taylor. Franklin Taylor. Where is Franklin? This is a historic moment because Franklin is usually the one who's, moving and arranging and behind the scenes and up front and whatever, but he's actually seated here and present with us. enjoying it. God bless you, brother. There are so many to say thanks for, and I'm glad to do that. This church is a community of faith of all ages and stages for which we give great thanks, and it has been a pleasure, honor, and delight and joy to serve here as pastor. I want to close. I really think this could be a closure, but there's always something more, especially that party. Remember that, and the exit routes and the whole bit. But along my journey, there was the opportunity, as I mentioned, to serve at Riverside Church, and along the way, serve with so many wonderful and talented and gifted people. I am humbled and overjoyed. And again, with more time, I could tell you everything I know about every one of them. But one of those was William Sloan Coffin, the senior pastor at the Riverside Church. And there's been a benediction and blessing that's become known to us in various ways, in various moments, heartfelt and to be sure. And for this benediction, I'd like to share this with you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God give you grace not to sell yourselves short, grace to risk something big for something good, grace to remember that the world is now too dangerous for anything but truth and too small for anything but love. May God take your minds and think through them. May God take your lips and speak through them. May God take your hands and work through them. May God take your hearts and set them afire. Mine is a fire with thanks, always and everlasting. Muchísimas gracias por todos, por siempre. Gracias. Thank you.
KT's Bill Crawford, here you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, I want to see if I could elicit, plead, get your attention as there's going to be a musical portion to our program. And I'm a very shy and reserved person and a little bit anxious about this particular segment. The gifts are bountiful in this room, and at the keyboard right now, they are profound, because playing the keyboard presently, front and center, here at the stage, give it up for Kate Keys, ladies and gentlemen, Kate Keys. Some folks like to get away. Some folks like to get away for a holiday from the neighborhood. I would fly to Miami Beach or to Hollywood. I'm taking a
Pit up on the mic and the microphone. Thank you very much, Paul Zarkanian. In the day we sweated out on the streets of a runaway American dream. At night we cruised the mansions of glory and suicide machines. From the bases of Highway 9, from wheel fuel injected up, stepping out over the line. Whoa, baby, you can feel the bolt from my back. It's a death trap. It's a suicide rap. We gotta get out while we're young. Cause tramps like us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. And by the way, we're getting ready for the next little bit here with Mari Crawford, who is better than ever. But a big shout out to Samantha Udanda, who has created the awesome cake that you're eating. Samantha, are you nearby? Samantha, at any rate, I hope you're eating the cake and enjoying the cake with great thanks to Samantha. So here we go. Here we go.
Does this work? Hello. So I'm Bill's daughter, Mari. So my dad and I, we share a liking for similar music. Top 40, just kidding. And but I did want to say something.
Can we have your attention? Thank you very much. There'll be lots of time to talk and schmooze, but a small sliver of time to listen to Mari Crawford. Mari Crawford, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up. Button your lips. My heart and soul, kin, blood, beloved daughter, Mari. Mari, here you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say before my dad and I sing this song that so I grew up here, right? So I would go to church, probably went to church like a million times in my childhood. And when I left to go to college, I really wanted to find my faith for myself, or if I even, believed in God or anything. And I really did. And I found that on my own, and my parents never put any pressure on me regarding Christianity or anything. And I really do consider myself a really strong believer in God, and the love my dad shows to everyone and that everyone has spoken of today is just very real and true, and he's just an incredible father. So thank you. Okay, this is Otis Redding. Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, and I watch them roll away again. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, raising tide. Okay, Bill.
Defender with the lights on. Does anybody own that Rolls Royce? Okay. And I'm pleased to announce, and Jeff Smith will appreciate this, that there's been a $500 million gift to the Larchmont Avenue Church. Yeah, I thought that might get people's attention. But here I am, because one of the things that's very, very precious and special in the life of the Larchmont Avenue Church, we talked about ages and stages and people of all ages, in particular, our youth. And one of the dynamic young people of our congregation happens to be standing right next to me. This is Julia Warner. I think you can see her, but you're about to hear her, unless you're talking. So if I could get your attention, I know those people in the back room. Do you think we can do this, Julia? So Brian, Greg, Chris, listen closely as I am proud and pleased to introduce to you Julia Warner. Julia.
I'm sure we're all sad to see Bill leave, but let me share with you some of the things that I love and remember about him. 3 years ago, when I moved from England to New York, we joined the Larchmont Avenue Church. I met Bill and told him my name, and he never forgot it. He never just says hi to people, he always addresses their name. His ongoing smiles and positivity is something I won't forget, and I'm sure none of you will either. At the Rummage Sale this year, Bill and I were assigned to the boutique door. It was so much spending the night with him, telling jokes, and talking to all the customers and guests. All these fun memories are things I will carry with me for my whole life, and even though his time at the church will be ending, I know none of our memories will.
So Julia and I are going to go into the Lindsay room right now and repeat everything she just said to those people who have been talking. I think we'll do. Thank you very much. Get ready for what happens next, which I'm not sure of. But is Steve Williams here or something like that? Okay. Maybe one thing to do is a special round of thanks to the people from LMC-TV. If you could turn and wave to the cameraman up there in the balcony. LMC-TV is here tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And also, LMC-TV has been responsible for the great video, thanks to Kate Keys and some technical help. So a shout out there. And get ready for more. Kate, Steve, Ted, here they come.
Thank you.
delicous man. You know you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometime, you'll find you get what you need. I went down to the demonstration to get my fair share of abuse. We decided that we'd have a demonstration. If we don't, we're gonna blow the 50 views. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometime, you'll find you get what you need. I went down to the Chelsea drugstore to get your prescription filled. I was standing there with Mr. Billy. And man, really ill. We decided that we would have a supper. My favorite color, cherry red. I sung a song to Mr. Billy. He said the word to me, and that was dead. Douglas Coster and the LAC Choir. And thank you, with beautiful French horn by Gala. Thank you so much.
Well, congratulations, Bill. And let's call Bill up here to jam with Sway. Come on up. Yeah?
Johnny, be good.
Okay. Down in Louisiana, Johnny, be good. Get ready. gentlemen, sway. Sway. Remember it, sway. Thank you very much. Johnny, be good, and you too.
David, are you here? David? David? Sure to go on your camping trip?
Well, Bill was just telling me that when he leaves Larchmont, he is moving to Chelsea. All right? Not in England.
Not in England, but just a little word of clarification. So my wife Julie and I will be moving to Chelsea, to the Episcopal Seminary, General Theological Seminary, where we will reside. I will be here until the 31st of August. Julie will start there on the 1st of July. So come to LAC, lots happening. I'll be here through the end of the summer, more will be happening following that. But we're off to Chelsea, Julie in July, Bill in August. Thank you.
Reverend Bill, thank you. You know, Chelsea, from here, is downtown. You know, it's like it's uptown, downtown, which reminds us of a song that we have that Mr. Hilfiger wrote here by the same name.
Satisfaction.